Let's go to Anne Ruston, who's the Shadow Health Minister, joins us live from Adelaide. And tell us about that first meeting of the Shadow Ministry today. How did it go, and is there anything concrete that's come out of it?
Look, it was a really great meeting, a great morale in the room, and I think everybody has realised that the election result was pretty bad, and there's no point in us pretending it was otherwise. But everyone seems really focused on doing the two things that I think oppositions have to do. One of them is making sure we hold the government to account so that every day we get out of bed and we focus on what the government is doing and making sure that they are delivering for the Australian people. But secondly, we've got a lot of work to do to build up our policy platform so that we're in a position to make an offering to the Australian people about addressing the issues that they're concerned about, because to be quite frank, there are so many areas that I think the Labor Party has failed in terms of its policy offering to Australians. So we need to make sure that we've got an alternative one. Clearly, what we offered at the last election didn't meet the expectations of the public and was rejected. So we need to make sure that we've got a good policy offering. So policy development, holding the government to account, that's what we've got to do every day from now on.
Now, obviously, you're in Canberra rather than Adelaide, my mistake in introducing you. Unless they've moved the national capital to Adelaide, which I think would be a very good thing for South Australia. Now, just on this,
absolutely,
and my comment about the party not talking about itself too much. Now, we all understand the need for a review, and that can go on in the background. But as you point out, this government is making so many mistakes. I focused on foreign policy. There's a lot happening also in energy and domestic policy. I mean, you can't afford to waste time. You've got to hold them to account and have viable alternative arguments straight away. You can't wait 6 months or a year, surely.
Well, I think there's two things. We do need to take the time to get this right, because, Chris, the cold, hard reality that we cannot shy away from is that our offering at the last election was overwhelmingly rejected by the Australian public. So we need to make sure that we get that right. We need to take the time to get that right. But you are equally right in saying that we need to get that policy offering and that alternative government out in front of the Australian people as soon as possible. And we already are in some areas. I mean, obviously, we've had a long talk about the inadequacies of this government when it comes to defence. And quite frankly, all of the problems that we saw in the last 3 years under this government with people's cost of, the cost of living, people's living standards going backwards, nothing has changed. And they're the things that we must focus on, because Australians are still out there, they're still hurting, and we need to make sure that we've got policies that tell them that we're hearing them, we're understanding them, and we're going to do something about it if they give us the opportunity to do so into the future.
I'll just show you a little bit of what David Littleproud had to say, the Nationals leader at the Shadow Ministry this morning.
While it's humbling and it's disappointing, the election result, you can do one or two things. You can get in the fetal position and give up, or you can come out swinging. And being from Western Queensland, we always take the latter.
Yeah, I think he's making pretty much a similar point to the one you were making, Anne, so onwards and upwards. Now, on this, there's a need to get more women into senior ranks in the coalition. Yourself and Sussan Ley and Michaelia Cash notwithstanding, the argument of quotas keeps coming up again. Is the party going to get caught up in an argument about quotas? Angus Taylor's against them. Sussan Ley says she's ambivalent. Will there be quotas brought in, do you think, by maybe some of the state branches?
Well, I think the most important thing is that we focus on the outcome here, and the outcome that I think we all overwhelmingly want is to see more capable and competent women in the ranks of our parliamentary party, but also within our administrative party as well, because that's the way we end up with the strongest possible team and the one that reflects what reflects Australia and what Australia wants. So I think we need to be focusing absolutely on the outcome. I don't think that we should get ourselves hung up about how we get there, but the cold hard reality is that we need to get there, and we need to make sure that we use whatever tools are available to us to get there. And I'll certainly be encouraging my division in South Australia to be focusing on making sure that we have got those pathways for women, because we've talked about it for quite some time now. I think now is the time that we actually take some action and really make ourselves deliver the outcome that we quite clearly all want.
Now, when it comes to defence, the historic achievement at NATO with a 5% of GDP spending commitment from all the NATO allies, that's going to take a decade or so to bring to fruition. but surely that will put the pressure on Australia as a US alliance partner to deliver a similar level of defence spending. Do you expect that that's what we'll hear from the US? And do you think we're hearing enough from Anthony Albanese and Richard Marles on this topic?
Well, look, I think what we've actually been highlighted over the last few hours and days with NATO is the fact that the Australian government has been found absolutely wanting in this space. Their own strategic review, defence review, came out and said there were a number of areas where we needed to increase our defence capability, and the government hasn't funded them. So I think what we've seen is that even Anthony Albanese admits that the world is in one of the most uncertain time we've seen since the Second World War, and he has done nothing. And now we see our NATO colleagues and friends come out, and they're taking this issue really, really seriously. And yet Anthony Albanese, Richard Marles and the Labor government just don't seem to be doing so. So hopefully that maybe the kind of pressure that we're seeing will make the Albanese government realise that they have a responsibility. You can't just keep talking about the risk and the uncertainty and do nothing about it, which is exactly what they're doing at the moment.
Yeah, I reckon they'll hear about it. If he ever gets to talk to Donald Trump, he'll hear about it. Thanks so much for joining us, Anne. I appreciate it.